two dope dudes, bringing you the news, leading you to much success with all their insightful views. Do you grow yourself or buy from the top shelf? Are you here to take the reins and gain back your health? Whatever it is, you know the biz. Leave a light, crack a pipe, and let's get on with it. If you want to acquire the knowledge, you don't have to go to college. You can just come hang with Aaron and Dave.
Welcome to the Elevated News Podcast with Two Dope Dudes. We are your source for Midwest cannabis news, culture, and more. I am Aaron.
I'm Dave.
We're the Two Dope Dudes. What's up, dude?
Not a whole lot of what's up with you. Yeah, dude.
Chippewa, as soon as I said that, huh?
Literally, you were starting to say things, and I started to get this little tickle. I said, if I don't get me some water in there, it's going to come out weird.
I do that sometimes, too, where it's like, like right before we start, I'm like, oh, got a cough.
Yeah.
Got to do it now.
Mm-hmm. Fa la 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 la. Yeah.
Little warm up. Little warm ups before. We do not do warm ups. Well, actually, we do 420 warm ups before we start the show.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We got our
Just
420 warm ups. Yeah.
Yep. I feel good.
How are you today, dude?
Good, man.
Yeah.
Honestly. Yeah. It is cold out there today.
It is. Yeah. We got some wind chills going on today. I hope you are staying warm this week. Next week doesn't look much better.
No, you know what? I didn't go to tags this week, and next week it says when we're supposed to start at 9 a.m., -6 degrees is the anticipated weather for that day.
I mean, usually it's like if it's under 30, it's kind of 50-50 with tags. If you're under 20, it's like it goes down. It increases quite a bit is all I'm saying. So
yeah.
But we're pretty hardcore. We're out there most. I'd say most like 45 weeks out of the year, at least.
Yeah. I would say so.
I think that's a pretty good average out of 52 weeks a year. Yeah.
And it's always weather that ruins it.
Screw the weather. We want to disc golf. It's the weather that stops us. Hopefully,
That's right.
Hopefully, coming up here in a couple weeks, the Super Bowl will be warm enough.
I've been out in some miserable times for the old Super Bowl, dude, and I'll be out there no matter how miserable it is. But
hey, I got Carhartt, so I'm good.
Yeah,
I'll just wear my Carhartts. It'll be fine.
Yep.
You only need
dude.
like 2 discs. Yeah, I got to hit Farm and Fleet, right?
Yeah, that might be the plan.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, hey, we got some cool cannabis news to talk about today. Let's get into it.
Oh, hell yeah.
Because it's been kind of slow, and now we got all this stuff going on. So we got some fun stuff to get into today that I do want to talk about. So let's hit up plugs super quick, and that's really plugs is just a way for us to remind you early on. If you're an audio listener, please come over to the YouTube, youtube.com at Two Dope Dudes. Come check us out. See the stuff that we do. We super appreciate you, all you audio listeners. And audio listeners, I was looking at the numbers the other day, are still growing. And so I love that. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hell yeah. So come check us out. And if you're a YouTube and want to be an audio listener, you can check us out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all your other favorite podcasts and streaming apps. I already talked about the Two Dope Dudes YouTube channel, twitter.com at Two Dope Dudes, and supportdopepeople.com. We appreciate you.
Yeah. Also, if you're not doing anything on Thursday, I'd love to see you live on YouTube. 8 p.m. Central Time, where you can find me chatting about cannabis or playing games or just building a little community of like-minded people. But the whole reason I started it was to help everybody out there take their health back into their own hands.
That's right. Come on over. It's super fun. Hey, YouTube comments. Let me make sure this is sorted by newest, so we can see all of them because sometimes that happens.
Yeah.
LD Pegram, thanks for this great information. I'm really interested in the patches, and we'll have to look at the Mary's site. Great show.
I love the patches. I actually am going to order some from Mary's Nutritionals too. I did not know that they steadily and readily had CBN patches available, and I used to be a fiend for those things. I still have a few of them left, but once my supply now runs out, because I know that I can use them more regularly, I'm going straight to the nutritional site. And
Chi-Town Hi-Fi, late watch, but nonetheless a great watch. Keep the social lubricants to yourself and pass me the social kindling instead.
dude, when he texted me and said that, I freaked out.
Oh, that's
bro.
hilarious.
Yeah, because we call it social lubricant. I literally wrote it down on the paper over here
Mhm.
on a sticky note.
Mhm.
And when he said social kindling, I went, oh,
Yeah.
yeah. I
And,
digress.
unfortunately, he was not able to make the Wednesday episode because he's got some work in going on. So congratulations to you for that.
Yes,
Good
sir.
luck. Hopefully it's it continues to build in the way that you want it to, like you were telling me. Cole Memo, another great episode. Thank you, Aaron and Dave, for making the show for the community. I can't imagine this movement without both of you in it. Cole, appreciate you, bro.
That is, I appreciate that more than you know.
Yep. Dr. Danknugs. Kind Buds, Dank Nugs. Yeah. Love that, man. Best Damn Grow Show Monday nights. Best Damn Grow Show on the internet. Everybody else is, same old.
I was telling this to Cole the other day, and it's true about Cole. Like when I watch his show, I can actually watch it. I enjoy listening to him speak. The way his cadence, his response time, everything about him, it's easy to listen to. I actually feel the same way about Dr. Danknugs too.
Yeah.
I could literally listen to that dude talk about shit all day long, and like he's incredible.
I don't always get to participate get to watch him on Monday nights during the live, unfortunately, because it's like date night. So sometimes that takes a little precedence, and that's generally my problem with most like shows on YouTube. I don't have the time to sit down in front of my computer and just watch. So I miss a lot of stuff, but Dr. Danknugs, man, like it's just it is if I have time on Monday nights, like that's what I'm watching. Like he's so fun to watch, and he has really fun people on, and it's always great to see our community over there too. Just merge. Well, I mean, it's all the same. Can immunity. If you've been watching him long enough, you know where that's from.
Yeah.
John Voight, you can comment too, and you should. Thanks, John. Appreciate you, buddy.
Yeah, what a hero.
And Mr. Rourke 420, Wednesday hang. What's happening, dope people?
Fuck
That's
yeah.
right.
Thanks, brother. God, that group right there. Fuck, dude.
Yeah. We have some of we do. We have the best community around. I don't really care. Everybody's. Oops. Whoa, that was the perfect time. That was you all saw that. That was completely organic. I just opened it up okay. Oh my God.
That's 11 out of 10. That's a good one.
Donuts. I'm glad it's 6 minutes and 43 seconds. I will remember that because I need to go cut that out, and I'm gonna do what Cole asked me to do and make that the very end of the podcast. So anyway, good times.
That's so good.
Yeah. Shout out to our friends in the live chat: Daily Homegrown, Cole Memo, Mr. Rourke, John Voight. Let's see, who else was there? That's not what I wanted. Cole Memo, Satisfied Mind. Who else?
Some badasses, dude.
Sean Whitney. Dr. Danknugs.
Just Dude, I'm telling
Yeah.
you, it's so cool now. I don't know. I feel like all of them
Oh yeah.
are more important and just like, or we're all in the same playing field as important of like what we
Yeah.
bring to this, they bring even more to, and yeah,
Absolutely.
such a fan.
Absolutely.
I'm a
Uh,
fan of theirs.
you see this right here, Mr. Work 420 Dave. Can you talk about kids with Crohn's? I think you talked about that a little bit Thursday
Yes.
night. Do you want to reiterate that? Just like a quickly, maybe 2 minutes, 1 minute, real quick, right now,
I mean,
before we move on.
the yes,
Just the
Mr.
cliff
Rourke was
notes.
asking about an
Yep.
instance with a young person with Crohn's and what's the best methods of possible ingestion, or what would you semi recommend, although none of this is a recommendation because I'm not a medical professional. But what I do think that I've seen work many a times is different methods of ingestion. One, CBD consistently. It's got to happen.
Mm-hmm.
That is the regulator, the referee, the promoter of most, immune responses. And so it's just such a great thing. But also method of ingestion, suppositories, man. As weird as it is, we're in Western medicine. We don't talk about it as much as some other places in the world, but suppositories for intestinal issues, I just, the responses I watched people get from that,
Mm-hmm.
and when it was okay, if I take a dose of something or I take a hit of something, I get a small response from it that like makes me comfortable now. But when I'm using effective medication, it gives me a response where I'm comfortable for prolonged periods of time.
And you
And
can make them too. It's super easy to make with coconut oil. Like
yeah,
you
yeah,
just like you can get infused coconut oil and put it in a plastic straw and freeze it.
that's literally
And
what I
then
recommend. Yep.
yeah, and then you
Just chop it into dosage.
Yep.
If you know how to mix your products up together effectively, so that it's distributed
Mm-hmm.
equally, these things are, I promise you,
Yeah.
I had a lot of people back in the day making their own suppositories. They'd go into McDonald's, grab a bunch of straws, and
Yep.
yeah.
Hell yeah. I think that was our the other week is just boof it, right? Just stick it up your butt. That's it.
It's weird how many people, and I'm telling you, dude, the amount of people who come in and they look miserable because of the pain and the whatever they're going
Mhm.
through. I'm like, yo, why not try it? Like,
Yeah.
you got so much ego and pride that you're not willing to make yourself comfortable and feel better. Like, get out of here.
So it's the new year. And so we got a couple new cannabis bills that have been filed early in the year. I'm sure that we're just going to get so much done this year. Again, in the sixth year of legalization. I'm sure we're gonna, because all the other ones we did before. Anyway, the 104th General Assembly is back in session, which means another attempt to pass cannabis reform bills. Representative Sonia M. Harper introduced the first cannabis-related bill of the year, House Bill 4286. It amends the governing principles of the Cannabis Equity Commission. We don't need to spend a lot of time on this. There is you can go through, I read through the governing principles of the Cannabis Equity Commission. If you're super interested in it, go to Illinois News Joint and click this right here. I'll probably have it in the show notes too if I remember. If I don't, yell at me and I'll send you the link. HB 4286 would add to the ex officio membership a chairperson of the Ag Committee of the Senate or his or her designee, who shall serve as a co-chair of the commission, and the chairperson of the Agriculture and Conservation Committee of the House of Representatives, his or her designee, who should serve as the co-chair of the commission, as well as members of the Illinois Black Caucus, Illinois Legislative Latino Caucus, previously the governor or his or her designee served as the chair of the commission, correct? You would find out if you read governing principles. Further add that the membership of the commission, one individual who is a journalist and representative of the news media with work experience covering the national and local cannabis market. Sounds like they read our or listen to our podcast. Wow.
Thank you, ma'am,
yeah.
for trying to get me in.
Yeah,
and put on.
I'm
nice.
personally not interested, but thank you.
How much do they pay? That's government money, dog.
You know,
you ever seen them motherfuckers work before?
No, but I have a moral thing. I don't think I would be able to work for the state or the federal government.
Give me the paycheck.
I don't care. I'm morally, it's more important to me to be straight on that than to,
Yeah, touche.
Just saying. Like, I can't rail against the things that I rail against and then have a government job. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, well.
You know what I mean? It's more important to me to be, who I am than, Anyway.
I don't want a government job. I want the job we're doing now with government pay.
Maybe. The government pay is not that great.
Touche.
Let's see. Further add, representative news media with work experience covering the national and local cannabis market, as well as issues related to disproportionately impacted areas, require appointment by the co-chairs of the commission within 90 days after a vacancy in membership under certain provisions. This is the one that is just fantastic. Provide that the commission shall issue an annual report to the General Assembly that includes, without limitation, and let's not put limits on it, an evaluation of the current market. Why? That's the first thing. My first question is, A, who is actually evaluating the market? B, what gives you the, why do you get to do it? And what experience do you have analyzing markets? Anyway, data regarding social equity operation, or are we going to pay? Is it going to be another thing where we're waiting an extra year for our evaluations and stuff? Data regarding social equity operations in the state, community reinvestment data from the Restore, Reinvest, and Renew program, and tax revenues, as well as recommendations for policy changes that focus on supporting social equity applicants, owners, and communities harmed by the most failed war on drugs. Even though in Illinois, we, as my friend Cole Preston says, we're still arresting people in Illinois for cannabis. There's still an active enforcement.
It's all over the place. I just read a news report about a dad who is in jail for cannabis possession. It's such a minor fucking thing, but he's in prison for until the end of 2028, but his wife passed away and the kids are there alone and he's trying to get out, but they're not letting him out. It's such a crock of bullshit that, I don't know, dude. Putting people in cages seems fucking wild to me to begin with.
I think it's one of the things that we will, people in history will look back on, 100 years from now and be like, wow, the way we treated people and the fact that we used to put people behind bars is actually insane. And those people were insane and they were Neanderthals for it.
Yeah. And I'm not saying there's not bad people in the world who are.
Sure.
But
that's not what we're talking about, though. We're talking about mass incarceration.
Yeah, just teach people.
Yeah.
But reform is way better than...
it's not about recidivism.
Yeah.
Everybody's got a justice boner.
Yeah.
Justice and punishment boner.
Yeah.
Rep. Morgan introduces new cannabis reform bill. Since recreational use legalization in January 2020, the Illinois legislature has passed only one cannabis-related bill to reform either the Cannabis or Compassionate Use of Medical Cannabis Program Act or the Cannabis Regulation and Tax Act. For every other cannabis reform bill that has been introduced has failed, including multiple individual bills and omnibuses. With the new year, though, comes the introduction of another cannabis reform bill. Representative Bob Morgan has recently introduced House Bill 36 or 4306. Why am I reading that backwards? House Bill 4306, which provides several amendments to the Compassionate Use of Medical Cannabis Program Act, CRTA, Use Tax Act, the Service Use Tax Act, the Service Occupation Tax Act, and the Retailers Occupation Tax Act. Witness slips for the bill can be filled out here.
Dude, we talked about this a little bit, right? I think last week, or maybe I was talking about it, or I don't remember.
Cole last week talked about both of these.
Was Cole talking about this?
Cole talked about both of these last week.
I know, like, one of the big parts of this is the adequate medical supply, which will allow for a patient to apply for a waiver where a certifying healthcare professional provides a substantial medical basis in a signed written statement asserting that based on the patient's medical history and the certifying healthcare professional judgment, 2.5 ounces is an insufficient adequate medical supply for a 14-day period. They already have the ability to do that.
Yeah.
So what is he trying to change here that I'm missing? Because that's already, like, literally medical patients can go to their doctors and get an extension on the amount of cannabis that they can get currently.
Yeah.
So is it just to change the verbiage
the premixed weight of medical cannabis used in making a cannabis-infused product shall apply towards the limit on the total amount of medical cannabis a registered qualifying patient may possess at any one time. May possess.
So is he saying that so no matter what, your purchasing limitation is your possession limit. So on the bottom of a medical card,
well,
that would be your ability to present to a law official and say, I am allowed this much. I just picked it up, or I'm moving it, or I'm transporting it. That's why you're seeing me with it currently. Otherwise it stays at my home, right? So that little thing gets them away from being criminals and possessing more than the 2.5 ounces, which is allowed to all medical patients as a blanket, or the 30 grams that's allowed to a non-medical card holder. But I think that, like, when you're saying what you're saying now, that adequate medical supply may be speaking on, so he might know that there's an expansion past the 2.5 ounces, but maybe they're trying to get rid of, because when it says the premixed weight of medical cannabis used in making maybe they're trying to get rid of the 10-to-1 or whatever it is, where you're only going to be charged for, like, 1 gram of something should just be 1 gram of something.
Right.
And this is why when I talked about, let's talk about this in the Conditional Cannabis Corner thing, I won't spoil anything, but listen all the way to the end because there's some cool shit coming. But this is like this whole point. What does that mean? What does 1 gram mean? What does, because the state is confused by it.
Here's the other thing. It talks here about tax rates, caregivers, having a shortage of cannabis or cannabis-infused products. It wants a dispensing organization shall prioritize serving qualifying patients, caregivers, and provisional patients before serving purchasers. I think they already do that.
That's already been a thing.
You're right. That's already been a thing. Like,
that's been since 2020. That's been a thing.
I mean, at this point, like, there's nothing really, like, there's no, like, real distinction between what's a medical product and what's a recreational product.
It's the back end of it.
Right. It's a back end.
So in your inventory control systems, you have one system that says medical on it and one system that says recreational on it, and you purchase and so I could take a product from the medical side and put it onto the recreational side, or from the recreational side and put it onto the medical side.
But it was just like, who did we sell it to?
It's the tax rate. It's literally why the differences in the back end exist.
So, like, what is that? So, like, if you're about to sell out of, so like the last 4 things have to all be for medical, like if it like
It just has to be an adequate supply. But what is that
right, that's what I'm
mean, right?
saying. That's what
So,
I'm
like,
saying. So what we have to, every last product has to only be for medical because the medical person might want to use it. Like that is all I'm saying is that doesn't make sense. That's another thing that doesn't make sense.
The thing about it is because I don't imagine that representatives make much sense of this to begin with. What is a medical product versus a non-medical product? Do you mean to tell me that because it comes in a different delivery mechanism that it's more of a medical product than something else is? Because if you're talking adequate supply, now I sell out of all of my very good flour, whatever it is, the $60 a fucking eighth, whatever. And I only allow medical patients to buy the booth, the $20, and they have an adequate supply, but I can sell it for more expensive on the other side, and you make the state more money. So it's in the state's benefit for them to sell the $60 one over on the, so like, what is a medical product and what differentiates it from a recreational product?
Here's the one reason I think that this won't pass. Dispensaries must have a certifying healthcare professional on site.
No.
Make referrals to a certifying healthcare professional. Include links to a certifying healthcare professional or on the dispensary's website, or otherwise direct patients to a certifying healthcare professional.
That would turn out to be like the first, like the beginning medical program when just a few little doctors were the guys that said they were the most important medical doctors, and they would make businesses off of this, and they would sit in an office and wait for the phone to ring, and they'd get paid whatever the hell they get paid, but it would be an hourly rate, and you as a dispensary could go, oh, we are affiliated with Dr. Quacken, and then the other they're affiliated with Dr. Sketchy, it's like, okay. Yeah.
Anyway, we're done with local news. Let's get on to national news.
Oh, I like it.
I saw this and I thought this was actually really fun. Virginia's $20 million cannabis conversion fee isn't punitive, it's market reality. Virginia legislators are debating whether to change, and before we really move on, as always, legislating rules always just makes everything better, right? Virginia legislators are debating whether to charge existing medical cannabis operators a multi-million-dollar fee to convert to adult use licenses. Critics call it excessive. It's not. This is obviously an opinion piece. It says here right at the top.
Wow.
Most news is actually opinion pieces, and people take opinions for facts sometimes, and that's not the reality. Recent transactions and operator statements suggest that $10 million is a bargain for what they are receiving. Guaranteed entry into a multi-billion-dollar market without competing in a lottery, the state's only vertically integrated licenses, higher canopy and retail limits, and pre-built infrastructure that requires minimal conversion investment. The private market has already valued these licenses far above the state's asking price. In July 2024, Verano Holdings acquired one of Virginia's 5 medical licenses for $90 million. Even more telling is what happened in December 2025. Curaleaf entered a deal to buy the cannabis company's Central Virginia license for $110 million. I wanted to say that exactly the same.
Yeah. Those licenses mean more than... I mean, if you're one of 5,
sure.
I don't know.
Sure. But they're not wrong. It is kind of like people are out there setting prices, setting what the market standard is. And it's good to look towards this to see what may happen.
If you're going to be one of the monster MSOs and you're, boxing everybody else out from getting to be a part of the industry, I think you should pay a fucking $100 million, whatever, $10 million.
So, So it was for 110 million. Less than 3 weeks later, they are outbid by Mill Street Capital, which offered 130 million in cash and stock, a deal with a total enterprise value of nearly 160 million. In total, the cannabis company liquidated its Virginia medical holdings for approximately 250 million. When a single operator can extract $250 million from the private market for regional medical licenses, a $20 million conversion fee for statewide adult use privileges is a bargain, not a burden. That's
Wait,
correct.
It went from 10 million to 20 million?
I mean,
wild, dude. Don't read further. It's going to be 50 by the time we get to the bottom.
So in a November 2025 interview on the Dales Report, Jushi Holdings CEO Jim Capaccio, something like that, was candid about his company's readiness for Virginia rollout. Discussing their overspending on medical infrastructure, he noted that the investment would pay off. It'll flip the other way because we don't have to do anything to these stores. All we have to do is hire some people. This admission reveals what the $20 million fee is actually purchasing: a turnkey monopoly. Yes.
And that's what I'm saying, for that, if that's what you're going to allow is monopolization inside your state borders, you should make a fuck ton more money than 10 or 20 million. That's crazy as hell.
Mm-hmm.
And you literally just said you're allowing monopolization. Who the fuck wants to live in Virginia?
I mean, it's pretty close to DC. Like, yeah, talking Virginia. Well, I mean, like that whole let me pull up a map.
Yeah, it's like a border, right? Like Virginia's right south of fucking.
Yeah, so. Right. So Virginia, this is Virginia right here, right? Virginia. Here's Washington, Maryland, Washington, Richmond, Delaware. This is all like Norfolk. This is all military stuff in here, So like
Richmond,
a lot of people. Yeah, a lot of people. I mean, this is Washington right here. This is Richmond. People like this is all, So like Virginia is actually, it's the East Coast. It's right down into North and South Carolina. We got West Virginia, Ohio, Pennsylvania, New York. I mean, it's kind of, it's important. I'm just saying.
I'm with you. I'm just saying wild.
There's a lot of money in Virginia. Like
monopoly money, if you will.
For sure.
Yeah.
Outside of DC.
They got a monocle.
Yeah, so I just thought this was wild. It is wild. I think it's really interesting. I think you have to look at the data to understand what's going on in the nation. And if you don't, then
And the funny thing is too, I think that people in the space already will tell you, shove your fee in your tush.
Mm-hmm.
We already have SOPs.
Mm-hmm.
We already have the infrastructure built around where we're going to score the absolute highest in your little lottery shit, and you're going to give us more than what you're going to give us if I buy it for $20 fucking million. Why would I give you $20 million? I'd rather take the fucking coin flip, build out an entire new location, right? Like $20 million, you could fucking put an entire new dispensary up somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe 2.
Maybe, yeah. Well, I mean, 20 million. Yeah, you could probably do 2.
Yeah. Should see some of the dive spots that we fucking. I've
2 really
out.
Nice ones.
Dude, really nice. And own the fucking property.
Yeah, no kidding.
You know what I mean?
That's the trick. You got to own the property.
Yeah, they're renting it. Yeah. Anyway.
Scientists figured out a standard measurement for cannabis use.
I'm so pumped about this. I saw this I haven't read a single second of it. But when I saw the headline for this, you got me excited.
Yeah. A new study led by researchers from the University of Bath in the United Kingdom suggests a standard unit for measuring cannabis potency, similar to how we quantify alcohol consumption with standard drinks, could help people manage their intake and identify those at risk of cannabis use disorder. As more countries introduce laws allowing for medicinal and recreational cannabis use, such standard measures could help inform public health strategies around harm reduction. As cannabis becomes increasingly available in legal markets around the world, it is more important than ever to help consumers make informed choices about their use, says senior author Tom Freeman, director of the Addiction and Mental Health Group at the University of Bath. It says here, right or wrong, while some people limit their enjoyment to a leisurely toke once in a while, others can develop cannabis use disorder, which can lead to dependence, poor mental health, tolerance, risky behaviors, impaired brain function, and problems maintaining relationships or finances. It sounds like people who have addiction problems act like addicts, and people who do not have addiction problems do not act like addicts. If you are if you have the unfortunate addict gene, you should probably not indulge in.
This is the
like
one
this.
thing that I'm telling you, though, of those things is going to be one of the least harmful.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll just allow it to be what it is.
100%. So, cannabis potency has been increasing for several decades, correct? And use of high potency cannabis is associated with an increased risk of negative outcomes, including CUD. It says here CUD.
Cannabis use disorder.
I know, but CUD sounds funnier because
it does
of
sound way
cows.
funnier.
And adverse mental health, the researchers wrote in their published paper. I absolutely do believe that people who are schizophrenic or are schizophrenic have schizophrenia in their family should not do psychedelics. And
it's been the one
edible cannabis is a psychedelic. And
I mean, so we had multiple schizophrenics that came through in the past, and
and for some people it's fantastic and it helps them.
Bingo. And I always
100%.
would tell them, I'm like, listen, I'm going to be dead ass with you. Like, I don't want to be the cause of your next personality. I'm not trying to have
I think
you.
It's more for younger people who maybe have a family history of schizophrenia and are not diagnosed schizophrenic or do not have the symptoms of schizophrenia. I believe that anytime you're messing with the brain chemistry, things can go bad. And so, I mean, I absolutely think that it is entirely possible and maybe even probable that, edible cannabis can trigger something in the brain sometimes in some people and, kick that schizophrenia into gear, It's prove me wrong, I guess.
Yeah.
So earlier studies have made similar attempts to quantify cannabis use beyond weight and frequency, duration of use. This study goes a step further, expanding on the team's previous analysis and finding that measuring usage in standard THC units can effectively evaluate people's risk of developing cannabis use disorder. The study's authors found that to reduce the risk of developing cannabis use disorder, adults should not exceed 8 THC units per week. I want to know. Yeah, I know. I was waiting.
I love the THC units.
So here we go. Reviewing data from 150 London-based adult and teen cannabis users collected across a period of 12 months as part of the 4-year Canteen study, the team estimated drugs' potential as standard THC units. Unsurprisingly, not all joints are created equal. For instance, a half-gram joint of strong herbal cannabis might contain 12.78 standard THC units, while a weaker seeded herbal cannabis can contain just 3.78 THC units, according to the new estimates.
Oh, How cute is the UK with this?
I
This has
know.
got to be the fucking funniest shit. Somebody got paid to do this. You know that?
Yeah.
There's an actual person out there in the world who fucking. Oh my god.
I wanted to see how they.
I want to know what their measure of a unit is.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure out. Like, how did they figure out? I mean, I guess.
I don't know. Is that like video in the middle there? Did you watch that at all?
No, that's some YouTube about THC thing, I think.
Okay.
I didn't want to get a.
The one joint's got 12.78 cannabis units in it,
Here we go.
but you're only supposed to consume 8 cannabis units a week.
So measurements. Mean weekly standard THC units were estimated using the Enhanced Cannabis Timeline Followback, a comprehensive and validated assessment of quantity, frequency, and potency of cannabis consumed. This was administered at 3-month intervals and average over a 12-month period. Past 12 months, diagnosis of cannabis use disorder using the DSM-5 was assessed at the final follow-up. Receiver operating characteristic curve models estimated the extent to which weekly standard THC unit consumption could discriminate no CUD from any CUD, mild, moderate, severe, and no CUD from, okay. But it doesn't actually tell me what the...
Oh, hold on.
Yeah.
I see one there. Previous proposal to improve data collection. Standard joint unit of 7 milligrams of THC. A quantity chosen based on median quantities present in joints donated. 7 milligrams of THC.
I mean, 7 whole milligrams or 7 partial milligrams?
Bro, so when they're measuring against a joint, they call it 7 milligrams. Hold on. Strong herbal cannabis, 14.2% THC. And it's got 12.78 fucking THC units, dude. Hold on. Hold on. My brain needs to think for a minute. So 14.2% is 142 fucking milligrams per thing, and then they said 7.
I need to get high.
Yeah. I'm gonna keep doing math out loud for a second. 7 times 12.78 is at 70, 84, but then you got all the rest, so you're almost 90 milligrams of THC, but then they're trying to say, yeah, take a dab, dude. It'll fix it. 90 milligrams of THC came out of their 0.45 gram joint, but the potency is 14.2%, which would be 142. How in a fucking half gram joint when you have a 1 gram thing? Do you understand what I'm saying? 142 is not fucking 90 is not half of 142. It's half of 180. And they're talking 0.45 and not fucking one. Oh my God, dude. This is why.
Last night I accidentally the whole thing. Is this bad?
Yeah. Dude, I am about to. You know what? I'm telling you that the Conditional Cannabis Corner today is just going to be so good because of this. The hash resin, dude, with a 6.3% potency, bro.
That's why I had to... by the way, never put eggs in the fridge, it says. Anyway, that's why I had to do some hash.
Yeah.
That is why I had to do some hash. That was the most ridiculous thing. Let's do this real quick, and then we'll get into Dave's Conditional Cannabis Corner. It says we're at 51 minutes. I don't remember how long we talked before we actually started doing it.
8.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. Sometimes we're good about it, sometimes we're not. But Senate sends Trump bill that would continue protecting medical marijuana states without anti-rescheduling provisions. This is typically what they do. This is how we, we have that rider bill that always says, hey, none of this can be used to against states that have medical marijuana programs, et cetera, et cetera. So this looks like what this is a continuation of. The Senate has given final approval to a spending bill that would continue protecting state medical marijuana programs from federal intervention, while excluding a provision that previously advanced to block the Justice Department from rescheduling cannabis. About a week after the appropriations legislation was negotiating on a bicameral basis and advanced through the House, the opposite chamber voted 82-15 on Thursday to send it to the president's desk. Advocates and industry stakeholders were encouraged to see the rescheduling language stripped from the final deal after it had been approved by the House Appropriations Committee last year, as well as the preservation of a long-standing rider preventing the Department of Justice from using its funds to interfere in state medical marijuana laws. Two GOP senators filed an amendment to add the cannabis rescheduling restrictions back in this week, but it was not considered on the floor. The bill that's heading to Trump is part of a package that covers the fiscal year 2026 spending for commerce, justice, science, and related agencies, CJS, interior, environment, and energy and water development. That's a very short acronym for a very long series of departments.
Seriously.
Here's the language of the provision advanced by the House but excluded from the final bill. Section 607, none of the funds appropriated or otherwise made available by this act may be used to reschedule marijuana, as such term is defined in Section 102 of the CSA, or to remove marijuana from the schedules established under Section 202 of the Controlled Substances Act. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, they should not
Yeah.
be oh, here's
No, just seeing if
that's the
there's
provision.
anything else interesting in this. State industrial hemp research programs under the 2014 Farm Bill. None of the funds made available by this act may be used in contravention of Section 7606 of the Agricultural Act of 2014 by the Department of Justice or Drug Administration Act. I like that too.
We have I'm seeing one over here that says Section 531. Here's the text of that provision. If you go up, there's another, I think, rider that was there. You go, right there, where none of the funds made available under this act or the Department of Justice may be used with respects to any of the states. I'm not going to say them all, to prevent any of them from implementing their own laws that authorize the use, distribution, possession, or cultivation of medical marijuana.
Except for Nebraska.
Yeah, the ones that aren't involved, I bet you wouldn't find Wisconsin on there. You're not going to find Indiana on.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Indiana's even on this damn
Wisconsin's on it.
thing. Oh, it is, huh? Oh, wow. They just said fuck
It says
Nebraska.
right here, however, for reasons that are unclear, the rider that lists each state would be protected excludes Nebraska.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. Oh, sorry, Nebraska.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hell
Well,
yeah. Well, more politics. We'll see. Again, go back, watch some of the stuff that we did right when rescheduling happened. That was probably like 4 or 5 episodes ago. You can go back and look. We went over the legal explanation of what will happen according to the Department of Justice and the legal experts and who was it? The not the FBI, the DEA.
yeah.
Has final rule authority over what will happen with rescheduling. They've said that they're basically not going to allow it like you think, and so we'll see. Go and watch that. Go get the links there. Read it for yourself. Is my point.
That's the number one of all the 3 letters that should disappear.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I like, and all of them, really.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Dave, are you ready for
Oh,
Dave's
you know
Conditional
I am.
Cannabis Corner?
You got some symptoms from your condition to help you feel better. That is my mission. At the Conditional Cannabis Corner, you can get that information, and it won't even cost you a quarter.
All right, my friends, welcome to it. I want to talk about the numbers of cannabis. And if you heard me, if you've watched up to this point already, you've heard me get excited a couple of times. And it is because the one thing for me when I was growing up that was like, I'm good at math, okay? Basic maths for the most part. Complex math, not a lot of people are very good at complex math. But even some complex maths I'm good at. But basic math is something that I watched a lot of other people struggle with too, where the legislators are struggling really bad. If you just listen to the last segment that we were doing about the new cannabis unit, the THC units, okay? What is a THC unit and what does it mean? And so by volume, this is what we should all understand. When they say percentage of something, okay, we're going to talk about percentages, milligrams, just an overall understanding of what the difference is between grams, and we'll get there, okay? But percentages, okay, that means that if this is 100% of my hand, okay, and each digit is, I've got 100% of my fingers up, if I put this one down, I have 80% of my fingers up now. That's basic math, okay? Now, if I keep going down, okay, what they're saying is that by volume of this whole entire representation here of the plant, 20% of it is THC, okay? Now, 1 unit is just 1. 1 gram is 100 milligrams. See, so in the decimal gets moved over. In the, what's it called? I'm going to think about it here in a minute, but the European way of measurement, the grams and the liters and anyway, it's all just moving a decimal place. Well, from grams to milligrams, you have the difference of it's 1,000. Okay, so 1 gram has 1,000 milligrams. And if of that 1,000 milligrams, you got 20% of it, now you have 200 milligrams. Okay, that's if it's activated. I know that I'm going to throw a curveball at you. When we measure flower, cannabis flower, that's THCA, the acid form of THC. And when it's converted, that's when we start to put the limitations on it. And that's when your 100 milligram edible somehow becomes a 1 gram of your limitation of carry. Wild, right? For the medical patients, how do you keep all this math together? If 1 gram is 1 gram, then why is 100 milligrams, which is a tenth of a gram, because again, 1,000 is the full makeup of it. If we have 100, that's 1/10. Why does that equal 1 gram? And see, we use a lot of arbitrary numbers that only mean what they're supposed to mean in the instance of when somebody is either going to tax you or criminalize you. For the rest of us trying to do the science behind what is the effective dose for me, it can be very confusing. And for people who aren't good at math, no fault to you, it's okay. There are people just that aren't. How the hell are you supposed to differentiate what percentages and milligrams, and well, I've got a limit that says 70.87, and this thing takes off a full 1 gram, but it's only a tenth of what I'm supposed. Anyway, it just seems like the potency thing, and that people just don't understand what a percentage versus a milligram is. And until this thing gets figured out, we will continue to have bad legislation, and it will continue to confuse the people who are trying to use this thing as a medicine. And the thing that we listened to earlier, with the scientists figuring out a standard measurement of units, and they call it a THC unit, that is only meaningful to that group of people because I can measure 1 through a million. Like, it doesn't matter as long as I have the ability to be accurate in my measurement. Making a new measurement to try to measure what is already confusing enough to measure, and it's not even confusing, and like, if you know basic maths, but like, how the hell is now somebody supposed to convert their, what did they say, 7 milligrams of THC into 1 unit? So now instead of a 10 milligram gummy that you're getting, now you got to go cut off 30% of that gummy, and then you got to use that as your 1 unit. It's not going to standardize dosing for anybody. It's not going to make it more understandable for anybody. You know what makes sense? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You know what I mean? Numbers. So the basic maths of things go like this. When you have 1 gram of something, when you have 1 unit of something, okay, and we're using grams as the unit, and then you take a percentage of that, then you have to break it down because, I mean, you could say we have, 0.2 grams, or we have 0.5 grams, or we have half a gram, or whatever the hell it is. But that breaks down to a more basic unit of measurement that is milligrams. That is the standard measurement of the cannabis market for like the lowest threshold of dosing. So you can get 1 milligram, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 20, 25, 50, 100. You can then buy also, and that's as a extraction of the plant material. The plant material and all extractions need to be looked at as 2 separated things. But the thing is, a concentrate, which is an extraction of the plant, acts kind of more, a smokable one, acts more like the flower itself. As far as measurement goes, it has a 1 gram unit, and the percentage of that is the whatever makes up the milligrams of it. But you don't need to, like, now you have 1 gram of concentrate. So as Aaron was earlier, he's going to take his little dab. You take the 1 little gram of concentrate, and I need to get 7 milligrams out of that. So I figure out the overall volume of it. And now you want me to, it's 1 gram, dude. You want people to be measuring in milligrams themselves so that they can figure out their dosage scale. And if that's what it is, like, how the fuck are you going to take a gram that has 700, 800, 600, 500, whatever the fucking extract is, milligrams worth of a product in there? Let's call it 700 for this THC unit that they want to use 7 milligrams for. Now I need to take this 1 gram and make 100 units out of it? What? A gram is like, people out there, what is it? 10 dabs maybe? 20 dabs if you're being a little bit more conservative? Break that down 5x. So it just, like, this little standardized measurement of THC units. It's silly. It doesn't make sense. Again, because cannabinoids also are transferring, or they're being, they're going from their acid form, they're being decarboxylated. They're taking a carbon atom off of it, and it is through the loss of a singular carbon atom, literally is what pops off, we get a collapsing of, and it causes the THCA to be a THC, the active ingredient that we all are worried about. So on a plant and on a lot of extracts that haven't been extracted through heat, we're still measuring THCA percentage, the acid form of it. So now to do the conversion from THCA to THC, we have to multiply by 0.87. So now somebody has to go through the process of going, okay, well, I have to break my gram of concentrate into 100 units. But if I multiply that by 0.87, now there can be a little bit more than just 100. I've got to maybe get 87 of them, right? That's technical math of that. So now I can have 87 units of my thing because it says 700 milligrams. It's just basic math, right? So 700 milligrams of the 1 gram, that's what's involved, that's in there, is THCA. Now I've got to get it down to active THC for it to be a THC unit. So I multiply, and now I've got 87 units. But what if that thing is 800 milligrams, right? And I need 7 milligrams per unit. Well, us doing basic math, we go, okay, an extra 100 divided by 7, you're going to get like what, 13 or 14 or some shit like that. So now you go, okay, so I can have 113 units of my 800 milligram. Then I got to multiply that by 0.8. What they're trying to do to standardize this is silly. The actual math that everybody should know, first of all, percentages don't mean cannabis. They don't mean THC. Percentages is a value of a whole. There's a whole unit, and the value of, or a portion of the value of that unit is how much makes up this other thing that we're all worried about, THC. So almost do away with percentages. It doesn't make sense for anything except for if you're trying to convert it down to an activated form so that you can be more precise about your dosing scale. And I think this is like one of the biggest things that I've seen too is I don't know anybody who has done a 10 milligram and then gone, okay, well, I need 11. I need 11 milligrams. Like the scale kind of jumps up maybe in like a 5 milligram increment. And I know people who were like microdosing and they were taking like 1 milligram little things or 2 milligram little things. The thing is, they don't like the intoxication of it. So they try to avoid getting intoxicated, but they would take as much of it as they could to get the symptom relief, bar it, them avoiding intoxication. And the best way to measure that is by going 1, 2, 3, 4. The rest of us who aren't necessarily as intimidated by the intoxication of it, it's easier for us to find a comfort range, right? Because we also have to remember, like, let's say we have 10 milligram gummies. How standardized dosing to make a gummy have 10 milligrams precisely and specifically, and not to be off by even a 10% margin, which I would imagine is probably common. In Illinois, we have a 15% industry sway. So if it's a 10 milligram thing, it can be 8.5 milligrams or 11.5 milligrams. So for all of us, when we're taking our 10 milligrams, there's still a window there, right? So being this precise and being this worried about the numbers isn't almost even maybe at times necessary, but at the same time, to get the numbers right, throw away all the excess garbage. Stop THC percentage means nothing. THC doesn't increase in potency the more percentage that it has. CBD doesn't increase in potency. Having more THC percentage but having more CBD percentage doesn't change the potency. THC is THC. However much of it you consume is how much of it you consume. And because the 1 gram unit can have anything from, like we saw over here, 10% all the way up to a concentrated form that has 80, 90%, the 1 gram unit can be, you can consume more of it or less of it, depending on how much your threshold for intoxication is, or depending on what your needs for symptom relief are. But the maths of cannabis are very easy to understand if you don't allow it to get too confusing. And I know that I just ranted and went back and forth, and percentages mean nothing. Milligrams and grams mean everything. They're measurement units. Percentages of those real, truthful measurement units it's a math problem for you to understand how many actual units there are. And if you ever need help with the math, or you're ever confused by it, or the 0.87 thing doesn't make sense to you, or you're trying to convert from the 1 gram thing down to a milligram thing so that it's more of a precise medication, I'm more than happy to help anybody out there do that math. I literally help people consistently. I have people that text me with a regular because they have children that are trying to get a consistent dosing down, and I'm happy to do that math with anybody. I'll tell you how many grams of coconut oil you should put that in so that you can make a single 1 gram dose of coconut oil. We can do it so that, math is just, it's very easily done for me. And if it's not for you, please hit me up. I'm more than happy to help you. That's it. I love y'all. Don't let this shit confuse you. Thanks for letting me rant, brother.
Oh yeah, no, that was great. I really I love that one point that they are never concerned about the percentages or the numbers unless it's them trying to enforce,
it's for enforcement or taxes. That's literally it.
Yep.
Cannabis, and this is why I say a lot, like, cannabis is just cannabis. THC is just THC.
Right.
The confusion that comes around it is the law and the taxation. And like, none of us want to be rule breakers or criminalized for something that we're doing, especially as a medication.
Right.
This is why I tell everybody all the time, like, my favorite words about this is don't feel guilty to feel good.
Correct.
Especially now when you have protective layers, all right? You have possession laws, you have consumption laws, you're able to consume, you know where you can do it, you know how you can transport it. As long as you know the frameworks of that, like, you should not feel guilty to feel good. And if it takes your entire limit, okay, it takes your 2.5 ounces as a medical patient in one fucking dose to get to your comfort level, at least you know how much it takes now. And those measurements aren't to tell you or to guide you how much to take, when to take it. This THC unit that these people are trying to fucking standardize over here sucks. They said take 8 of them a week, take 12 of them a week, and that's it. When can I take them?
Yeah.
And what if the 12 units is what I need to feel comfortable in one dose? Now you're telling me I'm breaking my consumption limits, and I got to feel criminalistic or like I'm endangering myself. But that's where the comfort is. That's where for me, and not only that, when we talk about like Rick Simpson's plan of 1 gram of oil 3 times a day, or whatever the hell, the 60 grams of oil in a 30-day period, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
How the hell do you make that happen?
Right.
Like it's, I don't know. Not with these weird ass ways of limiting use because we want to be the proprietors of number manipulation. Get the
Right.
fuck out of here.
Right. I agree. I mean, understanding the numbers is until we all do that. No, you're right. It's we
It
have
is
to have that common understanding.
it is one of the most empowering tools
Yeah.
to taking your health back into your
That's
own
right.
hands.
Yep.
And like, I will teach the math over
Mhm.
and over and over again. I'll say it slow. If you want me to, back in the day, I used to pull up a little whiteboard behind me,
Mhm.
notepad, and just scribble
Mhm.
down the things. I'm more than happy to express the math. And there's a lot of people who are just like, I don't give a fuck, man.
Yeah.
I don't care what percentage my flour is. Is it good or not?
Yeah.
I just want good stuff. It's, and I think because of how many different measurements there are to cannabis, THC, CBD, the cannabinoids and the terpenoids and the
Yep.
flavonoids, because those different things make up the entirety, to say something is good is so subjective. It's so individual
Yeah.
that, like, give me the good stuff. Sometimes, for the growers out there, comes back to what feels good as a bud. What has
Right.
puffed itself out without being juiced up with, PEGs and shit.
Yeah. PGRs.
Yeah, performance growth regulators.
Yep.
That's what it is, PGRs.
Plant
Um,
growth
and
regulators.
yeah,
Yeah.
yep.
Yep.
So there's more to what a quality something means. Maybe it's the stickiness of it, maybe it's the nose of it, maybe it's the where it's, maybe you like your stuff more brittle. I know some
Mhm.
people who prefer to kind of have a little brittle something, so when they smoke it, it just kind of ashes out into some
Mhm.
white little something, nothing. I know people that prefer a little bit more sticky something and don't mind, they don't care what their ashes look like,
Right.
they care what they feel like it. So anyway,
I don't put a lot of stock into what color my ash is at the end. I think
It's-
there's so many things that it has to do with that. I don't think it's a clear indication of much. I definitely, if your hash burns black and it's at the same temperature as all your other stuff, then that probably means that, like, there's some contamination in there. I would put some stock into that.
Most of the time, I would just tell you it's excess plant material,
Yeah.
though, because, like, it's not hydrocarbons.
Right.
Hydrocarbons would burn off. The
Right.
second fucking, like, butane, like,
Mhm.
dissipates into the air super fast, right? So, like, it doesn't take a lot to get butane to go away. It's more the idea that, like, inside of that product, you would have a plant material because
Yeah.
this thing is a plant extract. They
Yep.
just didn't cleanly remove the plant material, the plant fats,
Yeah, it's the fats and the oils. Sometimes
Yeah,
it could just be a
100%.
bad press or something like that. I mean, you just never know. But again, yeah, no, super interesting, and hopefully someday we'll get there with the understanding of the numbers and the dosing, and what a world that would be, huh?
Yeah, it would make me feel a lot better. I would
No.
feel like I didn't have as much of a mission to achieve.
Well, hey, and then what would you be doing with your life? You know what I mean?
I guess nowadays maybe robotics or AI or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's the next step. We'll see. Again, it is still the month of January. What do you want to see from the two dope dudes? Thank you for the people who have sent in some articles recently, and thank you to the people who have hooked us up with some potential guests recently as well.
Huge.
So hell yeah. Anyway, we love you all. Smoke weed every day. Peace.
Peace.
Yo, ding dong, we're done here. Time to go.